Oh gosh. I'm sure my subscribers realize this, but I review a lot of different styles of video game, from big RPGs to online only experiences and a lot of different horror stuff. But let me just say this. Of all the hundreds and hundreds of games I've played over the course of the last couple of years, CrossfireX is one of the worst. This game is a completely worthless pile of garbage. The sound is broken, the game modes don't make sense, already the freaking store is filled with hundreds of dollars of microtransactions, and even the single player seems to be completely unfinished. I am in shock, but I want to try and dissect every aspect of this to hopefully figure out what exactly went wrong. What up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here. Now, CrossfireX, this game is very interesting because it's trying to be split into two separate themes at once. This is what I guess you would consider the primary gimmick. There's a classic style of mode and a modern style of mode. This is, at its heart, a very stylistic first-person shooter. It wants to be fast and flashy, but the problem is that whether you are playing the modern or the classic, the game just sucks. Now let me explain the difference. This game is free to play if you're doing the multiplayer. You do have to pay money if you actually want to play the single player missions, which we're going to be talking about at the end of the video, but even the freaking multiplayer is such a ridiculously misbalanced mess. Let's begin this video by talking in depth about the classic modes, because these are by far the worst part of the entire game, and they highlight the really messed up speed and aiming that exists in Crossfire. So while you're playing this, there's only a couple different maps to play on, but when you're choosing classic or modern, basically classic mode is like old school Counter-Strike. There is no ability to actually tinker with your guns, you can't sprint, you cannot aim down sights, and honestly, the game has nothing special about it. This game is just about walking into the same 5 maps, doing the same 5 game modes, and dying again and again. But while you're playing this, I'm glad you can see the gameplay. Everything about this feels very strange. There is no respawn timer. The second you get hit, a lot of times these combat situations are one-hit kill. So when you're playing classic mode, trying to go into these situations, a lot of times you spend more time dead than alive. But also additionally, you're probably starting to notice the biggest problem with CrossfireX. I can be quite forgiving with games' flaws. A lot of times, as long as the game itself happens to be fun, or it has an interesting gameplay loop, I'm probably going to be at least minorly forgiving. The big issue I have with CrossfireX is that the speed is completely off. The best way I can describe it is that while your character is running around, everything feels both too fast and too slow at once. Your character is able to turn so instantaneously like he's some sort of T-1000 robot, but also when you're trying to sprint, sometimes you feel like you're stuck in molasses. There is something about this game that's trying to be feeling like it's mimicking the speed of cell phone first-person shooters. It feels like a mobile experience that's been poorly ported to the Xbox. And the other part of this is that while you're running around and trying to shoot people, you realize that this game is not balanced at all. While you're playing it, a lot of times certain guns are dramatically stronger, certain guns are completely weak and useless. It's so easy to just hide outside the map. There were certain times where I was able to just go up on top of a balcony with a sniper rifle and one-hit kill players who can't even fight back because their guns are so inaccurate. Now, the best way I can describe this is that at times, CrossfireX feels like if you're listening to music through broken headphones. You know, you can understand the beats and the rhythm and the instruments, but something about it, even combined, feels completely wrong. Everything about this game just feels wrong. Now, here is by far the strangest part of this, and you aren't even going to believe it. I'm going to have to show you. There are 5 maps in this game, and there's 5 game modes. But the thing is, each of the game modes can only be played on one map, which means that if you want to play Search and Destroy, which is a game mode having you try and defuse bombs, well, you can only play it on this weird river city looking map. Oh, you want to play this hide and seek stealth mission? Well, it's this one mansion that you can play it on and nothing else. There's also this weird thing where there's like an infection style zombie mode, but this game mode sucks because you can only play it on the steel refinery and people just glitch outside the map. It makes it where this game, not only is it completely broken, but even the player base in their attempts to play it are continuing to break it. I am shocked that every aspect of this game doesn't have any interchangeability. A lot of times, once you figure out the one gun you like, the one style of play that fits your frickin' tastes, you're going to be stuck playing these maps again and again and again. If you like Team Deathmatch, this is the one Team Deathmatch map. This is it. This one oil tanker is all that they have, and it's baffling to me that they didn't decide to make it where you could mix and match game modes at least a little bit. Like, there is so much in this game that is clearly rushed, that is clearly unfinished, to the point at which they've already published an apology and a list of patch notes that they're going to try and fix over time. The game has been out for less than a day, and they're already trying to basically damage control for how freaking unfinished this is. Now, let me quickly talk about Modern, because here's the game that's supposed to be more refined. Now, we talked about Classic mode, which is just purposely missing features. Modern mode is perhaps even more busted. In Modern mode, you're able to do these things where you're playing through game types, but when you turn on Modern mode, these matches have a talent point system where you can basically choose to have more offensive or defensive capabilities. The weird part about this is that people have already figured out how to completely destroy the balance of the game. Essentially, some of these skills will make it where you have extra health, you instantaneously heal as soon as you leave combat, and your bullets fire faster, which means that a lot of times in these game modes, if I'm in a one-on-one firefight using these talent points, I can step behind a corner, instantly go back to 120 health, go back to that person who's hurt, and mow them down. But wait, here's the dumbest thing of all. This essentially makes it so that you're practically playing this first-person shooter as Wolverine. The second you stop dying, you're instantly full health and shredding more people. It makes no sense, especially because there's this map that's like a big tower that's currently under attack. You have to try and capture points. Well, in this one, as you get kill combos, you can unleash a special super ability of yourself called Boogeyman. Now, when you become the Boogeyman, it basically gives you these two pistols or these two little tiny machine guns that fire incredibly fast. You get 6 times the health, and because you can still equip your special abilities, if you have that instant heal, you can sometimes kill 10, 20, or even 30 players while the Boogeyman. This is so broken that they're already saying that they're going to have to remove it. Why did you put this in the game? How did you launch with an ability that lets me kill the entire enemy team over and over and over again? This isn't just bad players, it's completely broken. It's so unbalanced. It feels like nobody cares about this project, and especially not the developers. What perhaps pisses me off the most, though, is that not only is this just such a broken cash grab, you can tell it's a cash grab because it has 2 separate eShops. If you decide to go to these microtransaction stores, there's basically 2 different styles of black market for trying to purchase these expensive skins for your guns individually or buying these bulk bundles. Now, I also went to the store to look at the price tags. You can seriously spend hundreds of dollars of microtransactions in this game already for these skins that look like hot garbage. Like, sometimes the only reason that I'm less annoyed by cosmetic microtransactions is because at least they don't actually affect the game. My problem is that these look so bad, nobody's even going to care to buy them. Now let's end things off by talking about the aspect of CrossfireX that has definitely been the most fascinating before it came out, which is the single-player campaign. Now this itself is a bit strange because there's 2 separate campaigns and they're sold separately. So if you want to play the first campaign, this costs $10, and if you want to play the second single-player campaign, that costs $25. But I decided to get the first campaign, the $10 one, and while I was playing through it, the reason that a lot of people were excited for this is because it was co-developed by Remedy Games. Now, Remedy completely rocks. These are the people that do things like Apex Legends. They've done Titanfall. They're very, very closely involved in the latest Star Wars game that was actually good. This is a very strange blemish on their track record. The single player is basically your standard Call of Duty style hallway shooters. It's trying to advance and shoot people, and there's constantly just dudes yelling in foreign languages and throwing grenades at you. but the whole thing feels so cheap. I've played some fan games in my time, and I think a lot of times fan games manage to screw up tiny details to a heavy degree. There are certain aspects of this that are just so hilariously unfinished. Sound design, a lot of times guns just don't make noise. Footsteps sound like they're coming from every single direction, and weirdly enough, it feels like the enemy AI is just not even in the game. Most people are either standing there, shooting in a completely different direction, or straight up ignoring you while you stab them in the back. What is the point in a game being this broken? Why even sell it? Why not delay this game? Was there some sort of master plan that, hey, if we release it in the middle of February, people won't notice that our game is a complete piece of garbage? You know, I decided to put on my sleuthing hat and actually try and investigate. Apparently, they did a beta test for this game 2 years ago, and I found some beta testers saying this is the exact same game. They made this game 2 years ago, did not update it, and now they're just releasing it for some random reason. What happened? I'm almost more curious about the story of this failure than I am about why it's failing. What a horrible, horrible mess. Okay, well, we've heard a lot of bad and nothing good, but let's go over the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving CrossfireX a 3 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a giant thumbs up. Every like seriously helps out the video. Please, if you could, share this video around, subscribe if you haven't already, but do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. I actually tried to play this with my buddy Spawnwave, and after 30 minutes, he said, yeah, I'm going to delete this and go play a little bit of Sifu. And you know what? I can't blame him. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.